The leaders of all of the EU's 28 member states are here in Brussels for a two-day summit. They'll have a series of meetings on Thursday, then there's going to be a private dinner. That's where some of the most important conversations could happen. It could be a late night, but whenever it finishes, there should be a press briefing. We're expecting more meetings and more briefings on Friday too. Well, it is and it isn't. The EU has been constant in its insistence that there will be no formal negotiations over Brexit until the UK triggers Article 50. That's still the same, but we know that Theresa May has been invited to brief the other 27 leaders. We also know she intends to trigger Article 50 by the end of March. What she says beyond that, we shall have to see. But to be honest, this is as much about the tone as it is about the detail. In their own ways, the British, the French and the Germans have all talked tough in the last few weeks, but they all face a formidable negotiating process, and good working relationships are going to help. This summit is all about developing them. Where to start? The EU's already got sanctions in place against Russia over its annexation of Crimea and over its support for separatist rebels in the east of Ukraine. But it's Aleppo that the EU is focused on now. It's already expressed profound concern over the Russian and Syrian government bombardment of the city. The problem is what to do about it. The 28 leaders are not going to struggle to draw up a list of issues they have with Russia. Fashioning a response that will have an impact will be far harder. The EU and Canada have spent years negotiating a new free trade deal. It's known as CETA. It's going to be signed off in the next few days or weeks. And it's a big deal. It opens up two huge markets to each other. It's also, though, become a focus for anti-free trade sentiment. We've seen protests in Germany, and the whole thing, in fact, is being held up at the moment by a regional parliament in Belgium. It will happen in the end, but this highlights how hard it is to get these things done. As a consequence, there's much talk here in Brussels of finding a new consensus on trade, and whatever that consensus is will be very relevant to how the EU approaches Brexit negotiations.